Hey. Welcome everybody to our Counterpoise podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Samantha Adams. I'm over here with my other co-hosts. You guys want to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, this is Malik Foster. I'm one of the co-hosts.
Hey, you guys already know, this is me, Everett Stevenson, another co-host out here, and want to welcome you guys all to Counterpoise, as we are Counterpoise, poise, again, wow, as we get everything off and running today. We got a great show lined up for everybody. We're talking about the Flint water crisis is online for us today to discuss. We've seen some new changes that's taken place recently in that development. We also have some new news with everything with the changing of the election and impeachment that also took place recently for Donald Trump. So a lot of stuff that's been going on in the world recently, a lot of stuff that's been kicking off. I love to hear what y'all been thinking about, some of the stuff that we just been talking about. And let's get it going. What's going on, everybody?
So I think we should start off talking about the impeachment because I think it's crazy. No president in the United States, America's history has ever been impeached in one term 2 times. Matter of fact, no president has been impeached twice. But Donald Trump, in rare form, does it again. Like, how do you... Go ahead.
Because that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm trying to figure that out because I'm like, that whole time, like, the impeachment twice, I think is significant, but like, this is the one time where I'm like, all right, well, we'd like to see does this actually get, carried out all the way, right? Like, do we actually see, you know what I'm saying, Congress as a whole, unite on this issue and, completely impeach him. And that's something that I'm looking forward to see, you know what I'm saying? And as a start of everything that this new regime of, the new Congress that we're going to have coming in, as well as, the new president that we have in the new office that we have. I'm really hopeful to see, if there's going to be certain changes and, policy, and one of these things would be one of the things that we would like to see in administration, right? To see, like, is America really on board? We're trying to change and go in a different direction towards being more inclusive and being more fair, or if you will, to all individuals in this country.
Yeah, I just think the impeaching him twice is just for optics and for people to say, hey, he was impeached twice. I really think they're just trying to use this as a tactic so he doesn't run and get elected again, because the election was so close this time. They took so long counting the votes. Everything was so close that I think the Democrats fear that, if Trump runs again, he would get elected, especially depending on what Biden and Kamala Harris do under their presidency. So that's something to keep on the lookout for. And I think they just want to impeach him so he just doesn't run again, essentially. So that's what I'm thinking.
I think it's more than that. I mean, I definitely think stopping him from being able to run again is definitely one of the many reasons. Also, too, think about it. He gets impeached. He doesn't get a pension. He doesn't get the Secret Service. He doesn't get the perks of being a president, right? If he's removed, because he's been impeached. It's a matter of whether or not he's removed. Because remember, the House impeaches, the Senate removes. So if he's removed, then he loses those perks. But the other thing is, he incited a freaking insurrection on the U.S. government. Like, people don't, people do recognize, but his patriots don't. They don't recognize that what they committed was a form of treason. Like, you don't try to stage a coup to overthrow the democratic process and think that nothing's going to come of it. That's not a protest. A protest protest is what Black Lives Matter was doing. A protest is standing outside chanting some stuff, boycotting things. That's a protest. Scaling the walls of the House of Congress like a bunch of spider monkeys, going inside the building, throwing feces around, destroying property, stealing stuff, looting, and tearing up the people, not the people's house. The White House is the people's house, but the people's yeah, you tearing it up for what? Like, it literally served zero purpose. It got nobody anywhere. Nothing moved forward as a result. All it did was get Donald Trump impeached and potentially removed. The other thing is, I agree with you, Malik. Like, I think that one of the other reasons is because they don't want him to be able to run again, because I believe that he absolutely will, if in fact he's not arrested by one of the states that he's broken, many of the laws that he's broken prior to becoming president, or if I'm not mistaken, I think it's Iran has a warrant for his arrest. So if he's not in jail in Iran somewhere, or in one of the states, and it's funny because people always ask, well, he can just pardon himself. Well, not if he's arrested by the state. There's a little educational moment for some of our viewers. I don't know if Donald Trump has the ability to pardon himself, but the presidential power only allows for them to pardon somebody who's been convicted of a federal crime. If a person is convicted of a state crime, they cannot use that pardon power. The only person that has the ability to grant that clemency or that pardon is the governor of that state. So let's just say, for example's sake, if he gets arrested under state violations of the law in the state of New York, the only person that can pardon him is Governor Cuomo. I personally don't see that happening. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I do think it's crazy because he really messed around and got himself impeached twice.
But yeah, Sam, I just don't see the purpose of this impeachment really, because he doesn't have that much time in office besides the agenda of attacking Donald Trump and what he stands for and just hating on him. Like, I get it. You don't like Donald Trump, you want him gone, and he should never been the president in the first place. That's how a lot of people feel, especially people on the liberal side of things. But you got to remember, the people did elect him. He did win fair and square back in 2016. So you just have to deal with it. Like, a lot of people in this country are racist, and a lot of people want things to be a certain way in this country that a lot of people don't agree with, and a lot of people do agree with. So I just think that Donald Trump's presidency was a wake-up call to liberals that they need to get their act together. And I feel like they really don't think they are going to change much. So in order to stop Donald Trump and his ilk, they want to, impeach him and remove him so he can't run again. And then anybody similar to him that sets the precedent, like, this is the result, you'll get impeached and removed, maybe possible jail time or anything else like that. So that's my thoughts on the whole impeachment process. I just overall think that, that the Democrats have the other agendas here to play, because I'm like, okay, Donald Trump, he has some crazy rhetoric, he says crazy things, but we got to move the country forward. There's other issues that Donald Trump did not cause that we're currently going through. And for one thing, the stimulus, that's one thing. They need to increase that, I believe. And, there's no Donald Trump standing in your way of increasing the stimulus. So if that doesn't get increased by an overwhelming majority of the Democrats, then that's going to be an issue. And if Joe Biden, he can't use the excuse of
hang on, I gotta interject.
Go ahead.
I gotta interject because, number one, as it relates to the impeachment itself, I agree that it is a scare tactic, right? But the other part about it is, I'm not sure Donald Trump is going to be removed simply because not because they don't have the votes or wouldn't have the votes, but more so because I don't think the Senate comes back into session until after the inauguration. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it might be too soon.
Right. So it's really more so about timing than it is anything else. And like I said, I mean, regardless of how you feel about Donald Trump, he did incite a freaking riot upon the government, and that ain't it. That you can't be the freaking president of the United States, being the spokesperson for a coup. Talk about you love the people the treasonous people who went ahead and ran up in Congress. The other thing is with Joe Biden. Joe Biden made a speech the other day, I think it was, and he said that $600 ain't enough. It was a bill for, I want to say 3.9 trillion, but I could be wrong. And he wants $2,000 to go to everybody. So him being the leader of the party, I believe it will probably happen. Because remember, the Senate, even before the election, I mean, the House had approved a $2,000 bill, but the Senate, Mitch McConnell was the one that stopped it because Mitch McConnell didn't believe that people needed that money, despite the fact that people are standing in food pantry lines. They're having to put moratoriums on people's rent and all this other kind of stuff when people are out of work. Like, I don't know how he thinks people don't need it when all they got was $1,200 and the coronavirus has literally stopped everything for a year. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I definitely think that's that's going to be one of this presidential candidate's biggest challenges, right? Is being able to see, exactly how they address this coronavirus, the corona impact on the economy and the things that it's caused, as well as how do they, come in and usher in handling some of the like you said, domestic terrorism that we've seen in this country that was just displayed, right? Especially if people continue to feel outraged in regards to other things that may go, that the other things that should take place in this country, that this administration has a chance to address. In particular, that's addressing other social injustices for, people of color, for Black people in particular, police brutality and some of the other ones, and the way, policing is done and the way the jail system is done, and other social issues that, we'll address some later days. But those are some of the things that I think that we want to see from this administration to see how they address. And also, as far as impeaching President Trump, President Trump, I think that, it is something that should be done for the level of showing them accountability, and actually having him removed from the office is something that should also be done, because it could have that impact of showing people that, hey, you know what, this is not going to happen. You cannot, you know what I'm saying, store up and rile individuals who can come up and fester types of behaviors that are counter to what, we held as, fundamental to the progress of our nation, especially that process of voting for the president, which was taking place on the day in which the Capitol was stormed. So I think that actions need to be taken for that. And if Congress does have the ability to address it, the House has taken the chance of stepping out and doing so. And I think the Senate needs to follow suit as well, and making sure that they, stand united and showing that no person will have an impact of like that on this nation, and think that, they still get to leave with that golden parachute or a chance of trying to obtain that office again in a later date.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you guys on that one.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's just a little too late to impeach him. Like,
I mean, he's already impeached, though. You mean?
Well, no. Going through the impeachment and removal process, correct? You're right. I think it's too little, too late to actually have a successful impeachment and removal. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, he got impeached pretty quickly. They wasn't playing with him. But I was going to say, despite the fact that he was impeached, I'm not surprised about his behavior. One thing I know we wanted to touch on was the fact that he got blocked on everything. Like, he can't use nothing. He can't tweet. I know he got to be in the White House losing his mind. He can't tweet. Like he can't tweet, he can't go on Facebook, he can't even go on Pinterest.
Yeah,
You
I
know
think
what I'm
that's
saying?
pretty crazy that they're able to censor the president of the United States. I mean, I know the type of rhetoric he uses, but like they're able to censor the president of the United States. So, I mean, that worries me that potentially they could start targeting people and censoring them.
Well, they've been doing that. That's the
Start, right? I was about to say start. They've been doing that. I
but
mean, look
now
at how
even
they did
more open.
you got to look at how they've done, you know what I'm saying, other individuals who've just gotten out and speak on certain issues that they don't. Shit, you see how they did Nick for, you know, the whole while and out thing. So censoring people in their speech is something that's been done all the time. But I could understand, you know, your thoughts as far as saying someone who's sitting in one of the positions of the highest persons of America to be censored. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
there's
saying?
no hope for the rest of
Like,
us.
you know what I'm saying?
that's
A presidential, you know what I'm saying?
You're talking about a private institution. A private institution has the ability to do these things, right? And I think that when it came to Donald Trump, I mean, some of the things that have censored him, I just don't really understand why. Like Pinterest, like, okay, you know what I'm saying? But things like YouTube or Twitter, like those social media where he's pushing out his rhetoric, I mean, on the one hand, I get it, right? I understand it. But like you said, Malik, like he's the president of the United States. However, you're supposed to be an example and you represent our nation. You know what I'm saying? You're the face of the nation. Everybody, pardon my dog if he starts barking again. But you're the face of the nation. And so, Chino, he's over there losing his
It's
mind.
good, Chino.
Chino, you hear everybody saying hi? He's like, whatever. I see another dog outside. But anyway, you know, it's like I agree with you, Malik. The fact that just when you hear it from that space, like the thought of censoring the president of the United States. Now, let's say it wasn't Donald Trump. What if it was Barack Obama? What if it was George Bush? What if it was any other president other than Donald Trump? People would be like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Because no matter how you might feel about President Obama or how you might feel about President Bush or Clinton or any of them, except Donald Trump, with the exception of Donald Trump, no matter how you might feel about any of the other past presidents prior to Donald Trump, they had a certain level of respect for the office of presidency. You know what I'm saying? They upheld it in a different light. Now, you know, people can say it's questionable when you talk about Bill Clinton and some of the things that he was doing, but that was his business as far as I'm concerned. But the thing about it is, it's the office itself wasn't tarnished. Like even with Bill Clinton, the office wasn't tarnished. His image may have been tarnished, but not the office. The reason why Donald Trump is different is because it's not just his image. He's allowing his image to tarnish the office, which then becomes an issue, right? So that's why it sounds so crazy, like you said, Malik, to actually censor the president of the United States sounds nuts. But at the same time, like, I mean, as the private business owner, it's like, you know, it's a tough choice to make, right? Because it's like, well, you can't say it's okay for him just because he's a president. If I can do it, if a senator does it and they get suspended or limited or whatever, or if a celebrity like Boosie Badass does it, you know what I'm saying? Like if Zuckerberg is over there, limiting the speech of anybody, he should do it for everybody. That's kind of one side of the argument, but the other side is like, but we're talking about the United States president. So I think it's a tough decision, and I think that it was probably a tough decision for them to make throughout the 4 years, because he had been continuously pushing the rhetoric, and they had slowly been trying to like limit him by fact checking him, doing things without trying to really stop him from doing it. But I just think the insurrection was like the last straw. It was like, look, we can't take it no more. Plus, you about to be gone in a few days. Like, it's a wrap for you, sir. Like, no more.
Yeah, it just goes to show you the power that these tech giants are starting to have, where they can actually censor the president of the United States. If they can do that, they can essentially do anything. So that's what I'm really getting at. Like, they can just censor everybody. They can control so much more things. They have a lot of power. So that's what I'm concerned about.
I
The
mean,
broader
well,
picture
shoot,
of
we
the
already
tech
knew
giants
that,
having
right?
so much
Hold on,
power.
time out.
Yeah,
We
we
knew that
already
when
do,
nobody
but
was
to this
paying
extent,
taxes.
we never
You feel me?
knew to that extent to where, you know, they can censor the president of the United States. We always knew about big companies paying little taxes or getting benefits from the government. That's pretty abundantly clear. The rich don't pay taxes as much as, you know, the middle class do. It's always been like that. So that's nothing new. But the fact that these tech giants, which are relatively new, you know, they're not even 40, 50 years old, that they can censor the United States president. So that's just, you know, pretty shocking to
They
me.
do have power, but don't forget that the federal government has more power. The power that these tech companies have is power that was given to them by the government, right? Because the government can easily take it away. Look at AT&T, for example, right? AT&T used to be a monopoly, right? And the government deaded that. You know, they did the same thing with Microsoft. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, they have all of this power, right? But if the government, it's pretty much like if the government wants to allow them to have all that power, then they have it. But when the government says no more, no more then. You know what I mean? I think that it's a balancing act though to try to ensure who has control of what, who's in control of our country. Because the end.
But I don't know. I'm gonna have to push back on that too because, like Malik was saying, I don't think that Trump would have said block me on anything, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? I think, like, you know, short of him, you know, illegally using executive orders to be able to force the company to do whatever he needs to do, you feel what I mean? In the sense of just wanting to do it to tweet and not it being a threat against the nation. Um, I think that it would, like, he is limited in a sense in how he can enforce, you know what I'm saying, the people in this nation and what they do. So, yeah, you know, the companies having that type of power and wielding that type of influence, even though it's like you're saying, you know, it's them just operating their business and saying, listen, we can operate our business however we choose to. And, you know what I'm saying, allow anyone we want or prevent anyone we want from using it. It's true because, again, there's other platforms, there's other ways, and it's not a total ban from speech. It's just a ban from a certain site, which happens to be one of the ones which most of society uses, right? So I don't necessarily feel like, you know, companies are wrong for doing that, and them taking that instance and taking that direction and going there isn't necessarily preventing the government from having the ability to enforce, but I feel as though, you know, again, like you said, this is something where, yeah, all right, y'all banning my man. Which, okay, again, these actions take place, but why didn't it happen after, you know, the people were at, what was that, Virginia, and they had that whole thing happen, and the person got hit with the car, and they were walking around the campus with the tiki torches and stuff like that. Yeah, why was there not a ban? And I know there were temporary bans at times, I think, on Twitter and stuff like that. But, you know, like.
But this one's different because here it is with this one. It was not only those. I think number one, a lot of those are based out on race, right? Then the other part about it is this particular one wasn't based on race or, you know, nationality or black folks, right? This one was based on the government itself and interrupting the democratic process. And not only that, yeah, they had no business storming state buildings and stuff like that, but this time they stormed the United States Capitol, which should have been far more secure after 9/11. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's because they staged it to try to interrupt the process that was put in place by the, you know, the founders of this country, so that, like, that stuff was put in place for a purpose, and throughout time it has withstood the test of time, so that our government can function in a particular way at its most fundamental bare bones, from its most fundamental bare bones place, right? So to interrupt that process and to cause an insurrection, just to interrupt that process just because Donald Trump doesn't want to let go of his presidency, that's a temper tantrum. And the government is, you have to set an example for that, because no president, remember, when you look at the history of our country, the reason why we have the three branches of government was because we didn't want to be ruled under, a king. We didn't want a king. You see what I'm saying? So, as far as Donald Trump, just like my shirt says, Donald Trump, case closed. It's time to go home, buddy. It's time to go. You gotta go. You know what I'm saying? And with that being said, the reason why I brought up the whole part of my dog again, the reason why I brought up the whole thing about him being blocked from social media and everything, and him probably losing his mind in the White House, is because he's definitely said that he's not going to the inauguration. You know what I'm saying? And, with that being said, it's like, it's more temper tantrum. And it's like, it's time to try to do that easy transition of the smooth transition of power to make things more amenable for the people. I mean, I'm not gonna say everybody knows, because some people don't believe it to be true, but Donald Trump is about himself. But this is about the people, right? And so when you're talking about the people, you're talking about the smooth transition of power, so that when Joe Biden and Kamala Harris come into office, they can do the things that they need to do, which is one of the things I wanted to transition into talking about, is what's next. You know what I'm saying? Like, what can we expect from this presidency from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris? Especially as Black folks, right? Because remember, they had the whole plan for Black people and all that. And I think that, we should probably touch on some of that. Like, what do they plan on doing to uplift the Black people? One of the things I think that all three of us have been in agreement about is reparations, but they're not really talking about reparations, but they are saying, hey, Black folks, y'all got us here, so we got you. And it's like, well, how? How do y'all?
Well, I don't think, I'm afraid that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are just going to abandon Black people. Kamala Harris even said it during her run. She's not going to do anything only for Black people. So that lets me know, yep, you're not going to get anything except benefits that everybody else gets. And we all know when everybody else gets something, Black people tend to get the crumbs. So when everybody's getting food at the table, we get the scraps, the leftovers, the crumbs, things that are already picked out at and already partially eaten, so to speak. So we're not going to get benefits that we specifically need to address our problems. So they always promote how the coronavirus has affected Black people the most here in this country, but what are you going to do specifically to help the most afflicted? So this presidency is very important, because if the Democrats don't help out Black people this time, I think we just need to abandon them. Forget all that. Vote the Democrats. Republicans are bad. I think we just need to, as Black people as a group, need to rethink our strategy and just go with whoever's going to pay the most, give us the most benefits. That's who's getting our vote. We're not voting Democrats down ballot anymore. We're done with that. What are you going to give us? How much what's the numbers on it? And what benefits are we getting? Because if you're not talking reparation, if you're not talking about checks, if you're not talking about specific benefits, what are you talking about? Because you always say, well, that other side's bad. That argument's not going to be valid anymore. We had Donald Trump. We survived Donald Trump. So it can't get any worse than that, right? He opened white supremacists, especially with his rhetoric and supporting them. So it doesn't get any worse than that. So I don't know what Black people are going to do if Joe Biden and Kamala Harris don't come through. So that's very important. And, we're the ones who voted them in, but Joe Biden was down. And had it not been for Black people, he would have lost. That's how close the election was. And that was mainly the determining factor, was Black people in all these cities that were primarily majority Black cities. So
let me ask you a question, Malik. Do you think that Black people specifically, should go with whichever party, or do you think that we probably it's time for a new party?
Well, see, that's what I was going to jump in. Actually, I'm sorry. I know that was a question from Malik, but if you don't mind,
go ahead.
You get in here real fast, because I actually was going to go with that. And one of the things that I was thinking in regards to saying that was just how, I think that, when we look at what the political strategy should be for Black people, you know, within this party and moving forward, it should be kind of similar to what we had with a Cube or what we have with, you know, Antonio Moore and Edios, and what we have with certain organizations who are have specific plans. You know, you got Tariq and, you know, fundamental FB. Excuse me, I forgot.
Foundational Black Americans.
Black Americans. Thank you. And Tariq and his movement. So you have a lot of different people around the nation who are trying to work together to try to, you know, speak about collective economic, group economics and political economics, specifically for, you know, a group of individual group of people that would be directed towards them. And I think having those type of conversations and involving those type of individuals coming together collectively, you know what I'm saying, forming, getting things together where we can have some type of strategy and plan, and, you know, lobbying and things of that nature, such as a Chrysler or a, you know, Pepsi or Amazon or whomever would, you know, and have that type of influence. And when we look to vote, that's the type of stuff that I think will bring about the type of specific changes that we would like to see as a community, to give majority of the people in this country at least the chance to have a livable wages. And that's one thing that I just always feel like my platform, and one thing I'm always want to advocate for is people having an opportunity to just feel like, you know, you could work a job and have a living. And I think anything short of that, you know, from on any person is bogus in this country, because we have the resources and means to be able to allow it for people to have that. And I know some people feel like, you know, well, hey, you can just get it if you work at it. And part of that is true. But I think sometimes getting the knowledge that you need is a challenge. And that's something that we need to have changing for my community particularly.
I agree with that, Everett. But to go back to what Sam's question was, do we need a new party, or should we go with whoever provides us the most benefits? I think we're at a point where we need to go with whoever provides us the most benefits, because I don't think we're ready for a new party. I don't think Black people are ready for a new party. I do think that the two-party system is flawed, and it doesn't really give us much options. They always say the Democrats are the good guys, Republicans are bad, and they're racist, blah, blah, blah. But I think the Democrats have shown and demonstrated that they have a history of a benign and neglect policy, where they won't say anything crazy or have any bad rhetoric towards Black people, but they'll neglect them. It's like, hey, they'll show up, do a little dancing, you know, hang out, cut a few jokes. But when it comes to the policy, they're not going to name Black people specifically attached to a specific monetary amount. So if you notice, with like a lot of the plans, specifically Joe Biden's plan, he won't name African Americans in a specific dollar amount, because that's what they do. That's how they trick us with the trick bag. They'll say, oh yeah, minorities will give them this, minorities will do that, but they won't say African Americans, here's this amount of money that we plan to provide you guys to help out with this specific instance. So they don't help us specifically with our issues in our community. And one of our number one issues is economics and building up Black businesses and building an economic base so we can actually support ourselves, and we're not out here begging for crumbs that's left over from everybody else after they eat off the table. So that's my response to that question, Sam. We need to focus on whoever's giving us the most benefits, the highest bidder. That's who gets our vote, because everybody's vote splits. Like Hispanics, shoot, Trump run Florida because those Cubans voted for him. So, you know, in Texas, they have a lot of Hispanics. They didn't obviously swing the vote there. So Democrats need to rethink their strategy when they're
but the thing is, with the Hispanic community, they tend to be Republican though. So like when you look at
it's like 60-40, you know, they
tend to, that's just how they split. But you know, but I got to push back on you, Malik, because I do think that that Black America is ready for a new party. I do agree that the two-party system It's antiquated. Like, it's not getting us anywhere. We've had this two-party system forever, and look at, like, has there been some progress? Yeah. Has there been enough? Hell no. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're kind of stuck like Chuck in this space. You know what I'm saying? Hey, sorry. You could have
It's okay. You forgot his mute button. It's all good.
Right. No, what I was saying is I do believe that the two-party system is antiquated. When it comes to the plan that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have for Black America, I think that they do have some things that are geared towards Black people specifically, but I don't believe that it's enough, right? I do think that there needs to be more. I was reading something the other day. I don't know how true it is. I would have to look. I feel like it might be true. I think it may have even been Tamika Mallory who posted it. I would have to look again because I really don't remember. But it mentioned when Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, slave owners were paid money as reparations for losing their slaves, but the slaves weren't given squat. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, they didn't deserve, if that's true, right? And that really happened, they didn't deserve that. You know what I'm saying?
But you got to remember, not only that, you got to think about the fact that not only that, you just gotten labor for these many years. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
On top of that, but now also gonna pay you because you lost a value asset. You know what I'm saying?
Property.
You feel what I'm saying? So I'm gonna pay you for that too because hey, it is what it is. So, but that's what I'm thinking. We talked about like last week when I was referring to the like fabric of this country and how there's like this level of like emboldenedness, right, that comes into it where you look at it and you like, yo, how could you just feel so bold to just do such a thing, right? And as a person, as a Black male rather, you sit there and you look at it and you say, man, you know, that's absolutely crazy. That's bonkers, right? And whatever, I gotta go about my day. You know what I mean? Because it's like, okay, yeah, it's totally crazy what's happening, but in the grand schemes of everything that's going on, it's like, but yeah, it's not shocking of who it happened to and what it was and what happened after that. Right. But I think like also you have to kind of tell yourself in your mind, like, not only that, but like just knowing like you said, if that was me, my brother, my cousin, my sisters, you know what I'm saying, anybody else, if it was our, you know what I'm saying, cause that we fighting for, which is again, what? Equality, people to get an opportunity at a fair education, people to have, you know what I'm saying, a quality opportunity, a living quality of life, things like that, you know.
Quality education.
Oh my God, that's a threat. People feel like that's a threat to this nation. You know what I'm saying when you say that, but that's why, right? Because you know what I'm saying. Again, this nation needed someone always to kind of do that grunt work for nothing, and I think that's some of the reasons why we kind of dealing with these issues that we're dealing with, because you see people who maybe are losing that stronghold on the game, and it's feeling like, and I mean, not even really, right? Because in the grand scheme of things, the wealth is staying with the top people who have wealth, but there may be a little bit of trickle down that's coming down, and these individuals who are kind of falling off are like, yo, what's going on? Or this country is crazy, or this and this, look at this immigration problem, and this, that, and the third that people might argue. But in reality, it's like, man, we have way bigger issues than that. And it starts with, you know, the ability for people to, again, create their own living and live in their own,
It's the fundamentals, right? Like if you think about basketball, right? You have these great teams and they're playing ball. We're not going to pick a particular team, you know what I'm saying? But if just in general, just from a general space, if you're playing ball, you can be a good player, as you can be a good basketball player. But the way to be better than what you are is how good you have those fundamentals. Like take Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan is a great basketball player. He's, to me, boring to watch, but he's a phenomenal basketball player. You can't take that away from him. But the thing about Tim Duncan is he's super fundamental, super rudimentary. You know what I'm saying? Because he mastered the fundamentals. And so when you use that analogy and you look at the foundation of this country and you look at the fundamentals, economics, education, you know, having a good livelihood, being treated fairly. Like if we're the United States of America and it's supposed to be equality and justice for all, it's not happening evenly. It's happening on this super tipped scale. There are people that feel super entitled and emboldened, which is why they ran up in the Capitol in the first place, right? Because they feel like it's slipping away. Oh no. It's like, and the rest of us are looking at them like, so what if it's slipping away? We ain't never had it, so who cares? Who cares if you feel like you're losing it? Now you can feel like the rest of us. Because at the end of the day, just because it's slipping away from you doesn't mean we gonna get it. It just means you losing it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It just means you losing it. Because they sure as hell ain't gonna give it to us. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, if it was a whole bunch of black people that stormed the Capitol, there would have been a whole lot of dead black folks on the steps of the Capitol that day.
Well,
you know what I'm
Sam, they're coming out with a lot of reports that, you know, a lot of government officials were involved in ex-military and stuff like that. This was clear that this was an inside job. A lot of people who were in charge of the security and the area of the Capitol, they must have knew about it. They either ignored it and were negligent in their manner. Just said, whatever, let them through. Or, they won't make a big fuss. You know, those are our guys. You know, I support Trump, or there's some Trump supporters. Yeah, they're part of it. They were either part of it or they were willfully negligent about the issue. And they just was like, whatever. We'll just let them do whatever. So it's coming out a lot of reports that, you know, some of these officials were involved, government officials and military, ex-military, and other government officials were a part of this. So it just looks like an inside job. It's just a bad look all around. It's like you can't trust anything, can't trust anybody. It's a doggy dog world out there. And as far as black people goes, it's just like, hey, we got to get our benefits. Like, hey, we can't trust anything. So don't want to trust the vaccine, can't trust the vaccine. We don't know. There's no good history with vaccines and medicine when it comes to black people. So it's like, hey, where's our check? At least give us our money. Can't trust anything else. So that's the approach of it. I think we should take. Just, hey, let's get our benefits. Where's those checks?
Might not be able to check that dollar soon enough. But...
yeah, exactly the way things are looking right now.
One thing I will say that I think part of their plan is it'll benefit everybody. It's not something that's specific to black people, but I think it's a good look. Is the fact that they want to immediately cancel at least $10,000 worth of student loan debt. I mean, when my student loan is looking, you know, I mean, it's going to put a dent. It's not going to put a huge...
but that's going to keep us in the same spot.
But, well, not necessarily.
Sam, like, if the 10,000 is for everybody, that doesn't put us ahead. That doesn't catch us up at all.
I hear you, but let me finish my point. I hear you, but let me finish my point, though. It will benefit some. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's definitely people out there that don't have nearly as much student loan debt as we have. And so it will definitely benefit some people.
But I hear what Malik's saying in that argument, though. Even though it might benefit some, it's the fact that it's some who had it would be, you know what I'm saying? Who should be have benefited a lot more based off of, again, the same institutions in which they are looking to go and to attend now was made off of the woven's and the working of their peoples, right? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I agree with that.
Like a lot of schools had like issues back in the hat, like, you know what I'm saying? A lot of schools, especially on the East Coast, and like the Ivy League schools, which had institutions that of dealing with racism and slavery, and had to bring down either, you know, banners or, you know, clubs that they had. So, you know, it's interwoven even in education, right? So, you know, I don't necessarily know how they should address it, but and I hear Malik saying, like, I'm not saying that, you know, 10,000 white for all people, whatever, wouldn't be beneficial to people, absolutely. But again, it's some who trying to get pieces of pies to try to make some foundations that have been pieces of other families, you know what I'm saying, generations from years on now, you know what I'm saying? Whereas, like, some of us are trying to crawl and get that little foundation. And I think this is also, even though this is not the topic per se, but it also kind of goes towards what we're talking about as far as, you know, focusing in on, you know, a benefit for all people versus a benefit for
that's what I'm saying,
Black
though.
people in particular.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Like, it's a benefit that benefits all people. But I mean, I think, number one, I think it's just good. You know, I think it's good for people to get that, because the student loan debt crisis situation in this country is out of control. They got to do something to try to get a handle on it. Partly, stop charging so many people that much damn money to go to school. You know what I'm saying? That's part of the problem. And on top of that, they need to do something about the interest rates for Black people when they go to school, because the interest rates for Black folks, excuse my mom in the background, everybody, the interest rates for Black people on these student loans, on loans in general, are higher, right? So I think in doing that, it can benefit Black people if they have that much student loan. You see what I'm saying? If the student loans are that much, it can benefit them in that way. Yes, it's something that would benefit everybody, but I'm just looking at how it particularly can benefit Black folks, right? I do think that I agree with what you guys are saying, because it does keep you in the same boat, right? Like you said, Malik, I think that in order to address the problem for Black people and the culture and all that, is to do something specific for Black folks, right? It has to be some sort of a reparation. I don't care if it's in getting schools to money for school, if it's scholarship, if it's down payment for houses. Like, there's a lot of different things that they can do to try to assist in that land. Like, kind of like, I mean, I don't want to say like how they did for the Native Americans, because what they did to the Native Americans was a complete atrocity. They gave them land and then still try to go and take it so they can put oil up under their land and dig up Native American burial ground. It's just disgusting. But you know what I'm saying? And then you have to like prove that you're Native American. This is your land, right? I mean, I just think that it's that how they do Native Americans is terrible. But there has to be something specific to Black people. But my point was, I think that the $10,000 in student loans is a good thing. I just think that more needs to be done to assist Black people, because when you look at it, yeah, Black women might be the most educated people in the world, right? But does that mean we now have the most debt?
See, Sam, that's where the issue comes in. Like, so if everybody gets to $10,000, that's fine. But when it comes to Black people, specifically Black women, they're still going to be locked out of the job force. They're still not going to get compensated properly because they don't own and control anything. So they're still going to be back to exactly where they're at. Okay, they may not owe as much loans. They'll still owe some loans. 10,000 ain't enough, especially if you're the most educated group. And we know how expensive these private colleges and universities are. So the 10,000 is not going to be enough for those Black people. And if the 10,000 is for everybody, that gives your white counterparts and Asian counterparts and other groups an even more advantage over you, because it's like, well, I don't have to pay back any money and I'm already making more money than you, I already have more wealth, so I'm still going to be further ahead, and it'll be easier for me to even go even further ahead than you because I have even less holding me back. So that's the issue with giving the 10,000 to everybody and saying that's going to lift up Black people, because rising tides do not lift all boats. The Black people's boats have a hole in it, and that $10,000 is just a Band-Aid placed over a boat with a hole in it. That's basically what it is.
But I'm also not saying it's going to uplift all Black people, right? I think that's.
But even the ones that just go to college, I'm saying that it won't even uplift them due to the fact that what I just outlined earlier. It's not going to uplift them either, because if I even take myself as an example, it wouldn't even uplift me because my white counterparts still have that advantage over me, that network, that wealth, those white institutions that were built off the backs of slaves, and those businesses and those government subsidies, and the other groups have their reparations. The Asians got their reparations. The Native Americans got their reparations. The Jewish got their reparations. Black people got nothing. It's just everybody takes, and we have not received. So we need to get our specific benefits just like everybody else has. That's all I'm saying. Like, that's the only way to
Yeah, I
get
don't
us
disagree with you. And
make
that's
us
why I
somewhat
started
whole.
out by saying that I think that we all agree that Black people deserve reparations, and it can come in multiple different forms, right? I think that's the issue, right? Because I remember I said at the beginning, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, I don't have any intentions on giving Black folks reparations. I think that we can go ahead and just, one of the reasons why I think it's important that we have a different party is because we need somebody else to be at the helm of advancing I'm sorry, we need somebody to help Black folks. Okay, just for lack of a better way to say it, we need people to help Black folks. And the two-party system ain't it. And that includes, we need a party that would be there in order to be able to say, hey, you can get reparations, okay? You get better education. We'll foster a better education and foster better economics. We'll foster equal pay. You know what I'm saying? We'll put you on an even playing field. You know what I mean? And to try to advance Black people. And it's not to say that all Black people are just stagnant, because that's crap. Look at us. We're three professionals sitting here having a podcast, right? But at the same time, many Black people are stagnated due to lack of education, due to lack of just knowledge on how to move forward and do the things that they need to do so that they can advance in society. And so they struggle, right? So with that being said, like, does a $10,000 help? Yeah, it helps everybody. But that's just like when you look at remember we got the $1,200 earlier this year? That $1,200 might have been the world to some people, but to some people it was like, this is going to be gone in 2 seconds. Once my rent is due, it's gone. There's one bill. You see what I'm saying? So I think we all run into that problem, right? It's a balancing act. Do I believe that our government needs to be doing something for Black people? Absolutely. Are they? Nope. With Biden and Kamala, will they? I think that they might do something.
I believe they can if Black people pressure them and demand it.
I never said that they cannot. I believe that they can.
I just think it can happen.
I don't think they will, but that's what I'm saying.
I don't think they will, like, left, like, unchecked, basically. Like, if they're not forced to or demanded to, they're not going to do anything. But if we
that's what I'm
demand
saying.
it,
I think that they'll do some things,
possible.
but I don't think that what they'll do is going to be enough. You see what I'm saying? But also, too, I don't believe Joe Biden is going to be a 2-term president. I think he's going to be a 1-term president.
Yeah. He might not even make it through his first term, honestly. If you ask me.
I think he will. He'll make it through.
I hope so.
You know what I'm saying? But I think that we just have to, we have to move past this point. It's going to be, one thing I do think it's going to be interesting to see is what happens after the inauguration. You know what I'm saying? Not just with Biden and Kamala and what they plan to do. They're telling us, they're talking a whole lot. Everything sounds pretty good. But let's see what happens, right? But I also want to kind of see what happens with Donald Trump and his following. Like, what are they going to do? How are they going to respond to everything? What is going to be next? Like, I think
they gave us a preview of what they're going to do.
All right, and especially what we were just referring to, if you think anything about reparations get through, you damn sure can expect to see a damn uprising and
right.
Because, you know what I'm saying, that's definitely going to be a direct threat to a lot of people's sense of security and sense of comfort in this country, of knowing that they feel like they have certain types of privilege and abilities to do certain things in this country. And so while money does help in that sense, again, it's such a complex situation that even a check will not solve it, because you can have all the money that you want, but like Jay said, you know what I'm saying, you still Black, or like Kanye said, you still a nigga in the Benz. You know what I'm saying? So it don't matter if you got that money, because it's not going to be able to save you from police brutality, or it's not going to be able to save you from being able to even, you know what I'm saying, negotiate and do business at a certain level, maybe, or have the infrastructure that you need to do business, which is funny because we were just talking about Kanye or whatever, but like, I know me watching like how his whole story with the whole fashion thing and him talk about like, Well, I gave so much to this, and I've, I've worked with these designers, I've worked with this brand, I've done this, that, and the third, to learning like, okay, well, I've got to go ahead and make this out here on my own because I got to go get my own factories and go build on my own land and go do this, that, and the third in order to, produce it the way that I want to do this and go here. And, then we see him, get held as a billionaire for some of the things that he was doing. But I think one of the things that I took from that was learning that sometimes, you might really want to start with the whole, I want to work at, Gucci, I want to work at Louis, you know what I'm saying? And learn that it's doing the process of things, like learning, going through things and learning, you know what I'm saying, how to do stuff your own, learning how to sew and how to stitch yourself, learning, you know what I'm saying, the difference between fabrics, and then being able to do that for yourself, that you kind of learn the value of who you are and what you have to offer. So I think, you know what I'm saying, that's one of the things that we have to learn, is to be like, as we look to try to find things to help us be able to establish ourselves as having a better footing in this country, it's not just money. We want to be able to have the foundations in order to allow us to be able to be successful. So if that foundation needs to be education for some, they need to be able to have that tool. If that foundation might need to be access to housing or access to the ability to achieve housing, that might be the tool. That might be the tool to open up the Airbnb outlet for them. You know what I'm saying? And so they can start making money that way. That might be an option. But other little ways to help people kind of just get that footing. It doesn't necessarily ask you to bring us and give us everything that, people feel like they might have been owed for the work that was done, but it'd be enough to give people opportunities to get their footings in the door. You know what I'm saying? And we had chances that were starting. I think they were talking about, it was talked about how back when affirmative action, one of the biggest beneficiaries of that were African Americans, and in particular in the government section. That's when we started to have a lot of higher middle class Black people in this country, because they were able to have government jobs, working either at the post office, things of that nature, working for the government for some years. And that's how, me personally, that's one of my family story. My grandmother worked in civil service. My father works, my mother worked as a civil service most of my life too. So I know, you know what I'm saying, that how government, working for government can provide, you know what I'm saying, a stable household for a family member. And having that type of outlet came from the civil rights movements and things of that nature. So if we can find foundational type of tools that give people access to tools to be able to find ways so that they can continue to grow and to continue to build, that's the type of stuff that I would like to see from, if not this candidate in this president. They need to set down I'm gonna wrap it up. They just need to set down the foundation so that whoever we have come in after them can go ahead and finish that job off. And we need to keep applying pressure with that. And that's what I would like to see personally.
Right, but what I was going to say, to piggyback off of what you said and kind of transition into the next thing, is you can't do that without recourse, right? Because think about it, you have people that have been able to benefit from things like affirmative action and things of that nature, but then you also have where government has limited them or punished them or done little things along the way. Case in point, Flint, Michigan. All these people wanted was regular water out the faucet and to go wash their body, right? But the government put them in a position where people were poisoned, died, have brain damage, and all that other kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? When you look at that, there has to be some kind of recourse when you look at that. Like Flint, Michigan, you might know better than I do, E, but I know it's a majority Black, right?
Correct. Yes. And just to add a little comment, they did offer, I believe, a settlement for people in the city of Flint. And I'm gonna look that up real fast. I believe they did get like a small cash amount. It might have almost been like 10,000 a citizen for that time. I will find that out real fast.
But I mean, even to do that, the water is still dirty. You know what I'm saying? Like, what?
Did they get the new pipes?
What do I care if you give me a couple dollars if I'm still getting poisoned? And then remember, they had like the water stations and all that other stuff throughout the city, and then they took them out. Like, you guys are really just trying to kill off these people. You know what I'm saying? And for many people that may not know.
It's a real mess, Sam. They almost successfully impeached. Was it not Michigan? That was actually Wisconsin. But it kind of goes along with this Flint thing a little bit. Like, these politicians are so corrupt that they almost impeached the governor of Wisconsin for their conduct. So I don't know if that's going to happen to the governor of Michigan or the mayor of Flint.
Well, I know that I do remember when a number of years ago when President Obama was still in office, Congress was investigating, but then like you didn't really hear anything for a while, right? But we do know that they still don't have any clean water. It's still messed up. But we, new news flash, they've decided to bring charges against, was it the mayor or the governor?
It was the governor, the former governor of the state.
Yeah, right. The former governor, and I think the mayor as well.
And a number of people that work for him. And it's for, what were the charges? They were, was it like a dereliction of duty or something like that? Negligence?
Yep, negligence. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So,
misdemeanor, though. I don't know how much time you can get for that, though.
The most time you can get
maybe a year.
The maximum time you can get for a misdemeanor is a year, and in many states there's a fine of $1,000, but that's for each count. So then the question then becomes, how many counts did they get?
Is the slap on the wrist charges, I think.
Right, is the prosecutor looking to push for them to run consecutively rather than concurrently, which means one after another? Like, what is really going on there? That's another thing about the election. I'm ready for us to move past this point where we are so we can start talking about the things that are going on that are equally important, right? Like that Flint water crisis, the fact that it's 2021 and poor people have not had clean water in years. You know what I'm saying?
Honestly, the clean water is an issue all across the country. Even New York, they've had dirty water too. So
but not
Flint is a little bit different, and they knew about it, and they did nothing about it. They just neglected the people there. So that's the major issue.
Did you say Detroit has dirty water in there?
No, I said New York.
New York. I'm sorry.
Like it's all across the country. Like the water system needs to be updated. It hasn't been updated since the 19 something. Like it's been a while.
Different states.
So it needs to be updated.
Like in Massachusetts, the water is pretty good. But yeah, but the thing is, I think that it was almost intentional because they knew that the water, where they were going to get the water from, was not good and went there and did it anyway. It was like, if you know,
right.
It's not negligent. That sounds intentional. If I know that if I keep driving down this wrong way street, I'm going to eventually hit somebody, that's not just negligent. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
We all know there's like a fine line between something being negligent and something being not negligent. And a lot of that has to do with intent and whether or not you knew it was going to go down like that. So, I really hope that the prosecutor is able to bring more than just those little
slap on the wrist charges. That's basically what it is. Oh, you were negligent. Like, really?
Right. And I think that they should be able to get sued personally. If that's the case, I think that they need to freaking put them under the jail because they really.
And it's been years. Wasn't Obama still president when this was going on?
Yeah, it was. What year was it? You know what year it was? How long has it been?
5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, it was
probably longer than that.
I feel like it was before.
Water was down here. It's been a while, but
I think it was before Trump.
The case started about 5 or 6 years ago when it was settled or something like that. I think is when they started because that's when they were saying the settlement came.
Flint has had bad water since 2014. So this is
probably 2015, 2016. That's when they started picking up steam. So I know it was before Trump was president.
Right.
It was before Trump was president. So it's this has been going on for 6 years now.
Going on 7. This is 2021. You know what I'm saying? So it's
it's a while.
That's a long time. That's a long time, and I think it's disgraceful. And, when you're talking about building up Black people, you also have to talk about protecting them. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that's one thing we don't hear enough about. We don't hear enough about how we're going to protect Black people from anybody, from the police, from the government, from ourselves. You know what I'm saying? All we just talk about is what can you do to put us on this even playing field, but you're not talking about how anybody can just have access to come and kick us off like the dude on 300. You know what I'm saying? Like we really
Right.
gotta find ways to keep ourselves protected. And I think that's another issue, that if there was in fact a new political party, that's an interest that needs to be a part of it, you know, and it's definitely a concern.
Yeah, I agree with you on the new political party. The problem is the whole money factor. Like, just us coming together and having that economic base, which I don't think we have, to bring up a political party, because politics takes money, and that's basically what it's about. You want to you want to get into political office, and it takes money from the people to support you to get there, or corporations or businesses or however it's done. And Black people just aren't organized enough and have the money to actually successfully get that done. That's why I said, for right now, having just the two-party system, whoever gives you the most benefits to help you achieve that economic base you need to get in order to get these things done, such as having a better educational system, having better health care, having better everything. It all falls down to the money and the economics. So that's why it's important for Black people to get reparations as far as the check goes, because we need that jump start. We need that assistance. We need that help, so we can better all the areas of activity that we need help with. We need help with everything: media, uh, healthcare, politics, education, everything.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important for us to get these tangible benefits, and specifically money. I know everybody's like, oh, you just want a handout. It's like, well, yeah, everybody else got handouts, so yes, we want our handouts too.
Right.
So that's the way I look at it. Like, if everybody's like, well, Black people just want a handout, I'm like, white people get handouts all the time.
It's not bro, but I'm gonna say, I'm gonna have to stop you there. It's not a handout though. In this case, it's not a handout. It's overdue interest. You know what I'm saying? Money off, not even just interest. It's capital.
It's debt owed.
Foundation of what grounds up. It's what built the nation. It's the foundation of it. So no, it's not no fucking handout. It's not.
And even if it is, everybody else been getting it.
Right, but they're not even. You can say they got a handout because they got something that was built off of somebody else's sweat equity.
It's compensation, right? You know what I'm
That
saying?
is a handout because you know what I'm saying. You come in and you walk in off of, like you said, you know, you got people, you got organizations and other individuals who are able to benefit off of the civil rights movement just as much as Black people have. And then when you say like, oh well, y'all just looking for a handout, y'all just being lazy because look. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, no, that's not a handout. You got to understand people had to put their time in and fight their battles in order to get there. So to say that that's a handout is a slap in the face because no, these actually is what's owed to individuals who are, you know what I'm saying, again, descendants of this nation.
Right.
Yeah. You know, and that's the reason why I say it's compensation, because we ain't none of us, I mean, unless we choose to intern somewhere or volunteer our time or do something pro bono, ain't nobody about to be working for free. One of the top things Black people don't play about is they check. You know what I'm saying? And part of that comes from the fact that our people have worked way too hard in this country and not been compensated. You know what I'm saying? We've been abused and used and taken advantage of, and, you know, not received any benefit. None. All we do is continue to thrive despite the fact that we've started from the negative. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot harder to climb to the top when you start in the deficit than it is to, even if you start from the bottom. You can start from the bottom and climb up, but it's different when you start from a deficit. You know what I'm saying? And because you have to climb through the mud before you can even start to take off. And I think that, you know, a lot of times people, and I just want to say this, one of those handout arguments that people make that irk me bad is government assistance, saying that Black people just want a handout, that's why they get government assistance. But the fact remains that Black people are not the majority of people on government assistance. You know what I'm saying? And so the government dishing out money to compensate Black folks is not in the form of food stamps. You know what I'm saying? Or any other kind of welfare benefit, it's in the form of reparations. Reparations means to repair or restore what has already been taken or broken. You know what I'm saying? And to build, like you said, build this nation on the sweat equity of a people, we need to be compensated for it. You know what I mean? And I think that that's a start. And our government really needs to take a long, hard look at that and stop trying to say, no, I don't think we should do that. Like, no, this is not something you can just brush off. And we're not going anywhere. Because if we were going to go somewhere, we would be gone. People got to remember that the Black people in America are the descendants of the slaves who survived, right? We're the survivors. We're the ones who made it across that ocean, who stayed living despite those terrible conditions of working in fields and doing all of that work with, you know what I'm saying, and being
fought through the, like you said, fought through the Jim Crows, fought through all of those eras, still
right.
survived, still stayed in this country, still been able to find a way to maneuver, still been able to find a way to adjust through all of redlining, through all of this stuff of, you know what I'm saying, again, Jim Crow laws and all of that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And still make it a way to make it a woven in this country and still somehow be out here making it is as a testament. You know what I'm saying? And one of the reasons why I love being Black.
Right.
And it's funny because I wore this shirt and it's like so crazy that we got on this topic because like I almost feel like this is a way that you can kind of feel about this country. You know what I'm saying? Like make the money, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? And we're sitting here talking about, you know, a lot of people who are holding on to the money did not, you know what I'm saying, essentially make this money, right? Like some of the money was taken, and that's how these institutions and how a lot of these places of power were able to kind of get their initial starting, right? And not letting the money make you. And I think that's what we're talking about when we talked about the things that happened on the Capitol, right? How, you know, this sense of entitlement, you know what I'm saying, because of what you may have had and the access that you might have had with your grandparents or parents or whatever. And if you start to see that maybe for somehow way, if you did not do what you needed to do, or if y'all was not great stewards of the advantages that life might have gave y'all, you know what I'm saying, somehow you are now placed in a situation where, you know, you find that privilege to be threatened, you know, you feel like, you know, that privilege is what makes you, right? You know, that access to the money or the access to that privilege is what's making you. And I think that's why it's like you're saying, like, you know, make it like, no, go out there and go get it for yourself, earn the things that you want. And I think it's kind of funny because I don't want to get it confused. Like, oh, well, you talking about reparations, and then you also talking about, you know, a shirt saying to make the money, but that's what we're talking about, because each one of us here, there has not been a reparation that has been given to any, you know, passed yet. And we all are here, you know what I'm saying, living as professionals in this world, making something of ourselves. So it's not to say that it's not possible, but it's also to say that we all, I know for me personally, y'all can speak for yourselves, but for me personally, I understand that in order for me to be in the position that I'm in, it was because of the villages that I had. It was because of the resources that I had around me. It was because of the parents that I've had. And I didn't have to look far, cousins, sisters, whatever. I could look, you know, within my own family to see like how fortunate and how blessed I am. And I know that around, you know, the people that I'm dealing with, and you guys all, you know, I don't necessarily think we all came from a super, you know, good family with tons of lineage of, you know, where you know, your legacy to certain schools or certain professions and things of that nature. You know, we're figuring these things out as we go, but we understand that, you know, what had to go into this, us to be in here is a lot. And a lot of people don't even have that type of access to get that. And that's the tragedy. And that's why we're trying to say, you know, again, you know, yeah, you know, get yours. Cause again, you know, what it really stands for is just, you know, get your money and stay cool. Don't let it get to your head. But at the same time, you know, it's a funny, like, you know, double entendre, because you could say that, like, looking at how this is in America, like, you know, now that y'all at least go make it yourself instead of trying to just hold on to something that somebody else, you know, earned for you, and you feel some type of sense of entitlement to it.
Right. The other part is decisions, right? Proper right decision making. Right, because the thing about it is, regardless of what our upbringing, our individual upbringing is or was, you know what I mean? It also, a lot of it is based off of the decisions and choices that we made along the way, along that journey. And that's how you get to this place, right? You get to the place by understanding what has been afforded to you, like you said, E, and making a choice based on what you have in front of you, and making a choice that's going to benefit you in a positive way as opposed to a negative way. And I think a lot of times that gets clouded with some people in our culture. But with that said, I think it's about that time for us to wrap up. But I do think that in closing, not only does our government need to do better for the culture for the black community, we as a community need to make better choices and decisions. But our government needs to protect us and give us our reparations. I mean, I think that's just the bottom line. And as far as Donald Trump is getting impeached again, like, I mean, that's just that's crazy to me. And although I think that the post election we're going to see a lot more foolery from his base. Part of my dog, he must agree. I think that we also have to expect to try to find ways to unify ourselves and to just build and grow and be better and do better, because it's already tough enough for us out here in these streets. And that's what I think.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I think these are going to be very important times for Black people specifically, because if Biden and Harris don't do anything, we're going to have to make changes as a group as far as our politics go. We can't just be like, hey, Democrats down ballot, or oh well, we've been voting for you see what we had to do to vote, right? So you got to vote. Yeah, I got to vote when there's benefits on the line, because keep voting hasn't done anything. We had a white supremacist in office essentially, or at least a white person who agreed with the white supremacist, however you want to look at it. And now we have another older white guy in office with a black vice president, black woman vice president, or multiracial, however she sees herself. If they don't do anything, it's like, all right, we already had a black president, we had a black woman multiracial vice president, we had a white racist in office, we had everything. So whoever is going to give us the benefits is who's going to get our vote. If you don't want to give us anything, we're just going to stay home. We're going to do our own thing. We got to focus on building our communities up. That's what we're going to do. If you're not going to add to it, we're not coming out anymore. So I think that's what Black people have to come to the conclusion of. Hopefully they do. If President Biden-elect and Kamala Harris, Vice President-elect, they choose not to cooperate and try to assist Black people, and they just want to ignore Black people and just help the banks and business, other big old corporations like the status quo, then that's the reaction that we should have. We should respond accordingly. So that's my thoughts on it. You got anything?
My God, dog, I don't understand why my phone does this.
Oh, you gotta put it on vibrate, buddy.
But do not
Or
disturb.
I think it's through your computer though. You got a Mac, so right. But anyways, you got any? Yeah, we can hear you.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We can hear you and we can see you.
Yep.
Come on, just give him the ball.
Okay, yeah, my bad. Some odd reason, whenever I'm recording, my phone connects to the computer. I can't stop it from ringing out loud. So, anyhow, but yeah, no, most definitely, my bad. And wrapping this whole thing up. You know what I'm saying? I totally agree with what you were just saying, Malik. We definitely want to see these type of things out of this next administration. We're definitely looking to see, if they're going to address it, and if they don't address some of the needs within the Black community directly, then I agree with you. We need to hold our vote so we can find candidates that are going to speak to these issues and are going to have something directly for us as a people, as we try to collectively regain access to the American dream. And that's what I'm looking to see out of this next administration, and some of the things that they do and the laws that I'm most excited about. On the rest of it, we'll just see, I guess, how it goes. But yeah, that's all I got for it.
I concur. I concur. And I think that that concludes this episode of our Counterpoise podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to go ahead and subscribe, comment. You can also follow us on social media. We're both on Instagram. Excuse my mother in the back who's snacking. She's the snacking lady, crackling all those potato chips. But anyway, we are on Facebook and Instagram. We have the Counterpoise podcast. My name is Samantha Adams. Samantha Adams underscore ESQ on Facebook and Samantha Renee underscore 77 on IG. How about you guys?
I'm Everett Stevenson, but you can find me on all socials at thatguy2104 on Instagram. I'm also on Clubhouse as well. So yeah, appreciate it. Like, subscribe, follow. Counterpoise podcast as well is on Instagram and Facebook. We appreciate everybody who's followed already, who's listening. Thank you guys for the support. We're getting better. Let us hear from you guys. Let us know some topics you might want to hear from us. Appreciate it.
And this is Malik Foster. You guys can follow me at Malik M. Foster on all social media handles. Please like, comment, share this video on YouTube. It's really important and help us out. And just stay tuned for the next episode.
Thanks, guys.
Peace. Till next time.
I'm out.
Wait.